Pros and cons of composite material basketballs. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategy.
To me is the only thing that can limit me. Going against and defying the odds. Hands to Redell, we changing the cards. Nowhere to go, cause we came too far. The timing is now, the start taking charge.
Today we're talking about the positives and negatives of composite material basketballs. Composite, synthetic, composite leather. 3 different terms, but they all mean the same thing. They're pretty much all interchangeable in the industry. But I think the most popular term, at least still to this day, is composite. So instead of saying those 3, I'm just going to stick to saying composite basketball throughout this video. I do have a previous video about why rubber basketballs are the best material basketball to use for beginners, but composite basketballs are more ideal for intermediate or advanced players, especially when you're talking specifically about outdoors at the park. Because when you're talking about indoors, now you're talking about organized basketball, now you're talking about leather basketballs. So let's talk about what's good and what's bad about composite material basketballs and why or why not you should buy them, use them for your streetball career. So let's talk about the good and the bad of composite basketballs and why or why not you should use them out here at the park. Let's start off with talking about what they are to begin with, like why do they exist? So in the beginning, when players first started coming out to the park on a regular basis, right, you usually would only have rubber basketballs, right? It wasn't until the late 90s, early 2000s that composite basketball started to come along, because all you had for a choice was plain old rubber basketballs or playing indoors with leather basketballs. And the idea behind composite basketballs is that they are usable indoors. They have a form, a presentation that makes it look and feel like a leather basketball, the kind you would use indoors, but have the materials, the durability, the performance of an outdoor basketball, so it could last and be used outdoor as well. So ideally, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the presentation and the feel of like a leather indoor basketball, but the performance and durability of an outdoor rubber basketball. The problem is what you're expecting is you're expecting A+, you're expecting like an A for performance of the feel and presentation of an indoor leather basketball, but you're also expecting an A for the durability and performance of an outdoor rubber basketball. But in general, for the general average composite basketball, you don't get A for both indoor and outdoor usage. My experience is you get about a B- for both, which isn't bad, but you know, it's not what you're expecting. It never really lives up to your expectations. You want the best of both worlds, you don't really get that. Not only that, but because you're expecting the best of both worlds, because you're expecting a better performance than just a basic outdoor rubber basketball, you're expecting indoor performance, feel, presentation of indoor kind of leather basketball as well, right? That means the price of the ball increases than just a regular rubber basketball, because this ball is made of an amalgamation of different materials, not just rubber. It's a combination of leather and synthetic materials, and they composite them together. And you know, just gathering those materials, having those, you know, manufacturing those materials costs more money for the company. Thus, the balls cost more money for you in the marketplace. So on average, composite basketballs are more expensive than just basic rubber basketballs. And that leads directly into durability, because you're expecting to have kind of the durability you would have, at least in the direction of a leather basketball, and how long a leather basketball would last being used indoors. Just basic rubber basketballs are notorious for the fact that because they're being used on such hard, abrasive surfaces like concrete and asphalt out at the park, that they break down relatively fast. So when you get an upgraded material from just basic rubber, you also expect an upgrade in durability so that the ball doesn't wear out as quickly as a rubber basketball. And I think on average that's true. With composite basketballs, the durability does rise. However, it is always subjective, right? Because it depends on the amount of usage of the basketball, the wear and tear that players put on an individual basketball, how fast it's going to wear down. Go out and you buy and you find a composite basketball that you like, and you find that it really fits you. Like, this is the kind of basketball that you've been wanting and looking for. It just happens to fit you, your personality, your game better than any other rubber basketball that you used so far. So you fall in love with using composite basketballs, and now, because you love it even more than rubber, now maybe you use this ball more than you used to use the rubber basketball, which means the increase in durability that you get from a composite basketball could be negated by the fact that you're going to use this ball more often, which means that you're going to have to replace this ball just as often, if not more so, than a regular rubber basketball. And because this ball costs more than a rubber basketball in general on average, you're going to be spending more money on average, you know, replacing basketballs than you would if you were just replacing basic rubber basketballs. While the durability may be better on these, if you use these more often than you do rubber, then you may end up spending more money, you know, significantly more money in the long run replacing these balls than if you were replacing rubber ones. So now that we've talked about the cons of composite basketballs, let's go into the positives of why composite basketballs may fit your game perfectly. For the pros of composite basketballs, I think the most obvious one is, while no, composite basketballs in general on average don't live up to the promise that you're going to get the best of both worlds, indoor and outdoor, because it's been 20 plus years since composite basketballs have started becoming mainstream. Now you have such a wide variety of options available to you that you can find pretty much anything you're looking for, because different players look for different qualities in different basketballs. Different players, you know, they prioritize different kinds of basketballs to their own individual game. My favorite, my ideal basketball is a basketball that has the look, feel, presentation of like an official indoor leather basketball, meaning it has deep kind of grip channels, right? The pebbling on the ball is nice and intricate, meaning I get nice grip on the basketball. I get good feel, good texture of the basketball because of the deep pronounced grip channels. But unlike leather basketballs, I don't want the ball to feel smooth. I don't want it to glide in my hands. I want it to have a rubbery kind of sticky feel to my fingertips. And leather indoor balls they're not designed that way. They're supposed to be buttery. They're supposed to glide on your fingertips. Rubber basketballs, however, are supposed to be kind of tacky and grippy on your fingertips, so the ball does not move when you try to glide your fingertips across them. My ideal kind of basketball is a basketball that has the presentation, the look, the feel, the grip channels, the pebbling of a leather indoor basketball, but has the grip to it of a very outdoor basic rubber basketball. In general, especially 20 years ago, rubber basketballs didn't have those features. They were very flat. They were just, you know, basic, round. The grip channels were not deep. They were not pronounced. The pebbling on the ball, very basic, right? 20 years ago, rubber basketballs didn't have those kind of qualities. Today, in 2023, there's so many options for composite basketballs, and it's such a big spectrum that we now have. You can have a very indoor leather feeling basketball that has very deep grip channels, very pronounced, very complicated, intricate pebbling, but it's not actually leather. It feels like it is, but because of the materials that it's made up of, the synthetic materials, all the composite materials, it is usable, suitable to be used outdoors if you would choose to do so, and it wouldn't break down pretty much immediately the way a leather basketball would being used outdoors. And then you have the very opposite of the spectrum, which is you can have a very rubbery feeling basketball. This kind of basketball, which is like, it does feel kind of rubbery, but it does have grip channels, it does have pretty good pebbling on it, so it has qualities of an indoor leather basketball while still feeling like a rubber basketball. So you have a wide variety, a very long, wide spectrum of different basketballs that are composite that are available to you, meaning that you can find, it's very likely that you're going to be able to find a basketball that matches your playing style very well. Second of all, for the pros of a composite ball is the durability is just going to be better, right? So it's not going to be crazy, like life-changing better. It's not going to be like, oh man, this ball lasts me outdoors as long as a good quality leather ball would last me indoors. But because you've paid for better quality materials, thicker materials, the ball on average is going to last you noticeably longer than just a basic rubber basketball. How long that's going to be is completely dependent on you and your usage, but I would say if a rubber basketball lasts you a full year, expect a composite basketball to last you like a year and a quarter, maybe a year and a half. And it's going to be up to you if, you know, the increase in price from a rubber basketball to a composite basketball, if that price increase is justifiable to you based on, you know, how long the basketball actually lasts you outdoors. When you're just talking about basic rubber basketball, usually you don't get the pronounced grip channels, you don't get nice, good quality pebbling, you just get basic kind of features of a rubber basketball. But with the price increase and the material upgrade to composite, now you do get usually better, more pronounced grip channels, better pebbling, right? So better overall feel, texture, presentation of a basketball. To me, that usually justifies the price increase for composite. And lastly, just in general, when you're using composite basketballs, they just feel more like official. They feel more premium, more professional than just a basic rubber basketball. That's one of the major reasons why I consider it more of an intermediate to advanced basketball for outdoor park players, because it just feels more professional, it feels more real, as opposed to basic rubber basketballs that are great for beginners. Specifically, you know, beginners should use rubber basketballs, but when you upgrade to composite, now you're getting a more premium feel. You feel more official just using composite basketballs. Those are the pros and cons of composite material basketballs. In my eyes, these are pretty much the ideal kind of basketball for the typical hardcore outdoor park basketball players. Once you become intermediate, once you become advanced, you should definitely upgrade to composite. I still stick to my opinion that there is a process, there's like an official process and hierarchy to learning basketball and developing your game, which is when you're a beginner, definitely should start out with rubber. Definitely should start out basic, because as a beginner you need to understand what it's like not to have good grip channels, what it's like to have not good pebbling on the basketball, what it's like to have very basic features of a basketball, master using those kinds of basketballs, master rising up through that beginner stage of your career. But once you've reached intermediate and beyond, now you've earned the right to upgrade to a higher grade basketball that has better material and better features. Also, once you reach that intermediate stage, you've probably established that you're not just a casual basketball player anymore. You take this pretty seriously, which means if you do have to replace basketballs and spend that money, you are very comfortable doing so because of how seriously and how passionate you are about putting in that much, you know, wear and tear and money into this hobby or passion. The only problem with that being is that you're gonna have to experiment, right? You're gonna have to find out what kind of composite basketball fits you best. Do you like really indoor leather feeling kind of official indoor leather basketballs, or do you prefer outdoor rubber feeling basketballs that have the features of a leather basketball? And then you're gonna have to find out where you are on that spectrum, and then you're gonna have to go to the store, feel the balls. I have a video about how to choose a basketball. So it's gonna take trial and error. It's gonna have to take you going to the store, feeling the balls in the box on the shelf, buying them, probably returning them, doing that a handful of times maybe until you find the kind of composite basketball that does really fit you and your game. The good news being, once you find the basketball that does fit the kind of style of basketball you play, you can just stick to that for the rest of your career unless and until your game changes. The only other real problem and con about nowadays for composite basketballs is like there is no real like king standard forever, you know, top of the hill composite basketball. With like leather basketballs, you can say the official NBA basketball of the, you know, of the current era is the best leather indoor basketball, or the standard is the Wilson Evolution leather basketballs are the, you know, standard for indoor leather basketballs. There's really no king, no standard for composite leather basketballs, and because there is no king for composite balls, that means companies are constantly changing, trying to upgrade and improve their basketballs. So for instance, my favorite all-time composite basketball is the Wilson NCAA game replica basketball. I did have that basketball at one point and I loved it, but I gave it away on this channel. And while that ball is technically still available, right, it's only available right now in summer of 2023 on Amazon for about $100. And while that ball is amazing and great, it is not a $100 basketball. And that's because Wilson is diversifying, right? They're constantly trying to grow and improve their basketball, so you may find a certain brand, a certain model, a certain type of basketball composite that you love, but next year it may not be available because the composite marketplace is always growing and expanding and trying to upgrade. You may not be able to find, you know, replacements for your ideal basketball. You may have to go find a different ideal basketball in the future when you're looking to replace your current composite basketball. And if you're looking for recommendations for what composite basketball you should buy in general, I would say that like I said, my favorite composite basketball is that Wilson NCAA game replica ball, but it's $100. That's not a real option. In contrast, you have a basketball like this, the HALOCIAO Elite Pro 2000, which is not a name brand, but it's a small company, but it's a nice feeling, good performing composite basketball. And at the time of recording in summer of 2023 in Michigan, this ball is only $24. That's a really good price for this quality of composite basketball. You can check the links to all these balls in the description and comments of this video. I do really like this basketball. It's held up very well. It performs very well. It's at a good price. It even glows in the dark. So why not give this basketball a try, especially for the money? In comparison, you have a basketball like the Nike Versa Tack, which is technically a composite, a synthetic basketball. However, that ball is like 70% rubber and other small percentages of, you know, leather and composite materials. Like that's what you're usually going to find, which is like basketballs that are mainly one material with composites of other materials. So that Nike Versa Tack is basically a rubber basketball, but it has the feel, presentation, grip channels, pebbling of a indoor leather style basketball. So technically it's a composite basketball, but mostly it's a rubber basketball, but it can perform very well both indoor and outdoor. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? This is a small, tiny channel. I expect it to be small because it's got super obscure topics with not a whole lot of basketball action, but a whole lot of basketball advice, and a lot of young basketball players are not looking for those kinds of videos, but that's what I got in here, so that's what I present to you guys. So the channel is understandably small, so any subscribers that come along and subscribe, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Speaking of my gratitude, make sure you hit that thanks button down below. When you hit that button, any comment that you make on this video, all those comments will be highlighted because you hit the thanks button. So not only does the thanks button highlight all your comments, but it directly supports the channel. So anybody that hits the thanks button, know I greatly appreciate that as well. And as always, like, share, comment on this video. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, I will see you guys next week.
No, we're not looking for someone to lead us. That's right, we are the leaders. That's right, we are the future. Builders, creators, and teachers. It's about time that we show it. Capitalize on our moment. Survive through it all and look where we at. Imagine the place that we go.